Too much. Too much. Are we looking crooked? More important, am I invited? I know there's only a few of us here. But please, someone. Please, someone. Put my phone on Do Not Disturb and belong to you guys. Elise, hello. Thank you for inviting me, which I think is what you were doing. Hello. Hi, guys. I am invited. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, no. There's my closet, you guys. Fun times. Let's get reoriented. There was a tour of the studio room. Hey, look, that was a pretty good adjustment. Right back to normal. I don't even know how that happened. How did that happen? I don't know. You got the notification. Yay, Shelby. Or were they a little late? Or what? Hi, Jessica. Hey, Jen. Hashtag professionalism. It's me. It's me. I'm doing shifting some things around with the background here. Actually, I think I want to pull this down here. Even we'll put picture frame Jake and Alicia next to Barbie Jake and Alicia. But you can't see Jake's beautiful face unless I talk to you like this. I'm trying to clean it up back here so it looks a little more cohesive, and I'm very much like a maximalist, and I need to get it together. I will say this. I don't want to jinx it. I have to take it a little bit easy today. I have been writing a migraine that started on Sunday night, which sucks so bad. It was like when I was getting ready for bed, my migraine started. And then like I just finally like I took meds and I was like, just go to bed, just go to bed, go to bed, go to bed, and finally knocked out. And then like you ever wake up and like you just have the dullest like lingering of it there. And so that was Monday, and now we're late Tuesday now, and I still have that just like dull lingering of a migraine. So I'm just trying to take it easy, do what I got to do, and then rest whenever I'm done with my obligations. Not that you're an obligation. You say obligated. What movie is that? You say obligated. Cute fit. Thank you, Rachel. Cute you. Personality. Jen, you're excited and ready to get into this conversation. Yay, me too. I typically shoot the breeze a little bit at the beginning, let people pile in if they're going to. I have no idea how many people are in the chat because where the counter is for me is like right on my blinds up there. So I can't read that number at all until I put my hand there. There it is, 25. Okay. Are people are coming in? I'm on mute for like 10 minutes. Oh, on your end. I'm like, this whole time? The whole time, Dan? The whole time? That's another movie reference. Please, somebody get one of these movies. Jessica Eldridge, thank you for the compliment. Yes, I drink cherry Cokes and water all day, actually. That's all I do. That's all. Well, and Red Bull. I drink. I can't do coffee, unfortunately. As much as I love it. And I can try every now and then, but for some reason, coffee gives me headaches these days. But we do have, you can't really see the hashtag water gang because these flowers are in the way. That's our thing here, is that we water gang each other, which means that we prank each other into drinking water. Mrs. Doubtfire, hello! And then the other movie that I referenced was Jungle to Jungle. Yeah, and let me just be honest with you guys. I wasn't feeling great last week. And it was just like in a mental health way. Like I was just in an episode for a few days, and when Thursday came along, I was going to pull myself together and do the Patreon live stream, and I just couldn't, like, I was spending the day I was having one of those days where I was just, like, crying, all day and not really knowing why, and just, like, not wanting to do life, and then, um but also I wanted to still get my work done, and so there was part of me that was like, "Okay, I think I don't know that I want to be in front of anybody, like, talk right now." Even though, like, I can usually talk to you guys when I'm not feeling great and just, like, be honest. I just really didn't want to be in front of anyone, and, but I also wanted to take more time to get my work done. But then my sister called, and it was her birthday this past weekend, and she FaceTimed me towards that last hour of my workday, and I ended up talking to her for, like, an hour, and she really just wanted some, like, advice, like, life advice, like, relationship advice, career and education advice, like, health advice, just advice on life in general, and so, like, it's funny, and, on one hand, like, some people are gonna be like, "Oh, you, the girl who was crying for who knows what reason, didn't wanna do life, girl who" you're not in any place to give advice, but the fact of the matter is, from an AA perspective, that's like a gift from God, like, to be handed when you are, like, stuck in your own mind and your own problems, to be to be given the opportunity to help somebody else is just a way to get out of yourself. And it's a very empowering experience, and, after that, I actually, started to feel a little bit better. I got to see my mom briefly on Saturday. Jake bought a car from her friend, so she met up with us halfway, so we got to have a little meal and, meet up with my mom, and meeting with family, and even talking to my sister, talking to family, like, for me, I don't know about any of you guys, but for me, like, time with family is, like, medicine for, um like, my mental health. I feel like I'm quoting, Boys to Men, if you guys remember the song, Mama. I don't know if that was the name of the song, Mama, but he's like, "Loving you's like food for my soul, boom, boom, boom," from the movie Soul Food, but it's, like, true. Family is soul food. Mama's love is like food for my soul. Wait, Ashley's here? I'm gonna cry, my friend. My friend, hey. I was too busy, like, off in my own world talking to realize one of my bestest friends is here. Elise says, "Rather have folks take the time to rest than overextend unnecessarily." I know why Ashley's here. Ashley likes to get hype about the Depp Heard case, and I'm gonna talk about um, we've missed you so much. Um Is doing this podcast therapeutic in a way for you? It can be. It used to be that I would get, like, pretty nervous. It can be, yeah, it depends. On days that I'm not feeling very good beforehand, oftentimes there have been times where people like, these people here can tell you that I'd be like I would talk for an hour and a half or 2 hours and then be like, "You guys, I feel so much better now. I was really nervous going into I don't get nervous really so much going into it anymore. Maybe because my audiences are, like, 20 people or so max these days, where it used to be, like, 1,200 people up to 2,000 people, at one point, um, but it can be. Yeah, it can be. It's not always, but at the same time, I don't always need something therapeutic. Boyz II Men was my favorite, in the 4th grade-ish. Boyz II Men and Ace of Base were my favorites. You miss my face? I love your face. I like seeing your face on Instagram. Okay. Shelby's having Depp versus Heard withdrawals now that the trial isn't streamed every day. I thought I was gonna have that too, and I do wanna talk about that, about the whole concept of I wanna talk about all of like, controversy impacts of this, and, like, one of that being the fact that, like, how much entertainment so many of us were getting out of it. Because I also, like, in all honesty, like, I was consuming the trial primarily through, Emily D. Baker's live streams, and they were starting in my time zone at 9 o'clock every day, and that's when my workday starts. So it was a really good way of getting me, like, awake for the workday every day, because 'cause I'd turn it on while I work. And when the trial was ending, there was part of me that was getting a little sad, because it's like I've been spending the past month and a half, like, e engaged in this story and these people and what's going on, and this community in this story and these people and what's going on, and this community and what's going on with them, like, the conversations they're having, this stuff, and then that's all just gonna go away, and I'm gonna have to find a new, like, morning routine. And I wanna talk about, like, I guess whether or not that's ethical. Um, but first, let's see. Um, that message is okay. Um, "Hey, B. First time catching a BAP live. I'm so happy to have you. I'm gonna kill it." Wait, it says my connection is unstable. I wanna make sure that we're here and we're good. That's so stupid because I bought a power line adapter so that I would have a better connection up here. I should have a really good connection up here. Let me know that I'm okay, that we're good. William Ellers, I also didn't say a hello to you. Um, you were looking for a job and now 20 minutes away from the phone interview at a new company. Oh, that's awesome. I'm a bit fuzzy. Dang. I don't know if I change my, network midstream, if that's going to Ashley might be able to say whether or not that'll mess us up, but let's give it a go. Loving you is like food for my soul. Boom, boom. Come on. I'm on a completely different network, so what gives? What gives? I'm a bit fuzzy. I don't know what more I can do except for turn off Wi-Fi on my phone. I don't know how much that's gonna do though. So, it's a little clearer? Okay. Dang, it's been cutting off and on. Hi, Paula Gomez. You're listening to this while you do stuff. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and soldier on. I'm sorry, you guys, that it's cutting out a little bit. I don't wanna do this whole, like, end the stream, start a new stream stuff. Your connection's crystal clear, Bugsy. Thank you for that. It's fine for you, Jessica. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Um, yeah, I mean, I would ask any of you guys to refresh if it's not working, if it's not clear for you. Okay. So I think there are a bunch of conversations to be had that are coming out of this. And in fact, I noticed this when I revisited Twitter. Can I tell you guys, I am a completely different person than I was at least a year ago for sure. Because Twitter used to like damn, Twitter used to suck me in and, like, really, like, get its claws in me, like, its jaws in me, in fact, and, like, it would be so hard to pry myself out, and I remember the first time that I was, like, really seriously, like, "I'm getting out of here," and it was, like, a really sick Gabby stan that was, like that really, like, did the trick for me, and, um and it was really hard to kinda get away because Twitter's so good at keeping you engaged. And this time around, like, I had just a couple of, like, things that I wanted to say about the trial, and I was, like, getting caught up in a couple of conversations, like, I had some thoughts I wanted to share. Some of them were just funny things that I heard or just some opinions that I had or opinions that I saw that I wanted to respond to, and then that's kinda where I'm like, "Okay, maybe I should get off Twitter and just do a live stream about it." Um, and and then I'm off Twitter again. So, um, thank God for that. Thank God for that. Um, I do Twitter really well. Thank you. I mean, I don't really do it. And that is, I guess, the best way to do it. Um, Before says Twitter is a distraction. I agree. It's not great for most of us. Um, Hi, Jordan. Welcome. Welcome to all the newer people that we haven't like, again, I have to do this to see now we have 38 people. I hate that I have to do this every time, like, "Hello." But I will say that for me, I have found that I'm still watching I'm going back and retroactively finding new creators that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I love you." After watching one, like, live stream or video, watching people's commentary on the trial. So, I haven't even had to have withdrawals. I'm still watching, commentary on the trial. Yeah, leave a like if you don't mind. I've got a sign now that says, "Like, subscribe, and #watergang," which if somebody says #watergang in the chat and you see it, you have to take a drink of water. Especially me because I am dealing with a lingering migraine from Sunday night. So, um, just kind of laying the groundwork here, 16 minutes in, which is pretty good for me. I'm cool if you have a differing opinion from me. We're all cool here with differing opinions. Differing opinions, not a problem. We're actually really, really, really fucking good at that here. Um, if you're respectful, then I'll listen. I'll totally listen to what you have to say if you're respectful. If you're not, I don't give a fuck what you have to say. I don't care about what you have to say, and I don't have to listen to what you have to say. And so people need to understand too, because on the internet, people love to be like, "Ah, you can't take it, you can't take it." No, it's all about your delivery, and that's all it is. And you'd be surprised at how strong my ability to not give a fuck is strong these days. So as far as my stance goes, here. Here on this whole trial, in case you didn't catch my last, stream on this, I'm mostly pro Depp in this case, primarily for Amber Heard's what I perceive to be her blatant lies. For me, I believe people, I trust people to a fault. When I find that people are blatantly lying, to me, that's a mood killer for me and a trust killer for me. And when you've killed my trust, damn, that's huge for me. So for me, it's very, very what seems to me to be very blatant lies, and we can go over those lies. I do want to go over them at some point. Kind of undeniable evidence against herself. She's absolutely implicated herself in some of these tapes, admitted to the violence that they're talking about, and then the lack of hard evidence against Johnny Depp. So, just speaking from the perspective of justice and just speaking in terms of the law, I am mostly pro Depp. Now, what do I think of the dynamic of their relationship? It seems like these two are toxic as hell. And at the very least, I think the both of them are um, verbally, I can't say that word without getting demonetized, but like verbally, I'll just say toxic. I'll just keep using the word toxic. They're no good together. I don't know if he if we have evidence that she's been toxic in another relationship. Um, I don't know if he has been in other relationships. I think my mom said something like he has. There's been word that he was with Winona Ryder or something like that. Like volatile, but not necessarily toxic the way we're using it in this sense. Um, but just in with respect to how this trial went and how I perceived things and what I think comes out of them and what messages um, Amber Heard's side sends to the general public don't make me happy. Um, and some of the arguments too to support her side are just I can't get behind them. Um, but first, I've heard a couple of people make remarks about kind of how like, oh, is this even this is not even any of our business, or like, what is this fascination with celebrities and their private lives? Like, oh, like we have any like this is super voyeuristic of us. Um, if that's your opinion, that's fine. I'm not gonna say that you're wrong to think that, but I disagree personally because these things these trials are not aired publicly for sensationalism and entertainment. Sure, do they become that? Sure, absolutely, but that is not why they are aired. They are aired because well, first of all, the taxpayers pay for these trials, and the jury consists of these people's peers, which is us, other everyday Americans, and so this not only are these trials involving the public in that sense, they directly involve the public, they engage the public, they bring the public into the trial to say, "Hey, you've gotta make a decision here for us." But also, in my opinion, when it comes to these trials that are high profile, highly televised, and especially when it comes to celebrities, which are public figures, people that we've come to know, that holds a lot of potential to shift the tides in the types of conversations we have around these topics. That is incredibly important. We were in an entire movement. In the short time that I've been on YouTube, when I got on here, we were very, very much drenched in this, like, believe all women kind of movement, right? We may be moving on from that into something different, into something more nuanced. And some people think it's regression, some people think it's progress, but either way, we may be shifting the tides. That's really important, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing. And so to say that, like, "Oh, I'm not really into, like, watching celebrity stuff, like, I don't like celebrities," or, like, "It feels voyeuristic to me, it makes me uncomfortable," that's fine. But to judge other people for doing it is like, well, you have your head up your ass for the wrong reason. Sorry to put it that way, I don't know how else to put it. You have your head up your ass for the wrong reason because you're not quite educated on why these things are public the way they are. Sorry. Um, so so it was really interesting. Shelby says, "I believe all victims." Just the idea of believing all anyone, I think I heard somebody say is, sure, that's a great concept, but what if it's at the expense of another person? And I do think that yeah, it sucks that, like, I think that the default is to believe somebody when they claim they are a victim or a survivor of something, right? Until we hear otherwise. Because if somebody is innocent of that and they want to defend themselves, then they have the right to do that. And then, then which is funny because that is backwards. That is kind of like guilty until proven innocent, right? In the court of public opinion, whereas by American law, it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Either way, I think what a lot of us are taking away from this is that people should have the right to defend themselves. I think that's something most of us can agree on. Not everybody on the internet agrees on that. There's a whole bunch of people on Twitter who are, like, irritated with me because they don't agree that a person, if he's a man, should be allowed to defend himself and say, "Hey, I didn't do these things. In fact, she did these things to me." Um, but at the end of the day, uh, somebody somebody is both people can oftentimes are hurt in these situations, but at the end of the day, somebody's victimizing somebody, and it's a matter of deciding who it is. And so, I just don't think it's smart to kind of it was easy before. It's easy is what it was to put a blanket on everything and to be like, nope, we believe all women. Nope, we believe anybody who says it. But now we have to go, okay, we've got to use a bit of discretion now. And we have to be smart about it. We can't use this as an excuse to be misogynistic. We can't use this as we can't use this as an excuse to blow off the people we don't like. We can't, like, and so now we're back at a call to asking people to have strong character. And how do you get people to do that? There's no way to ask people. There's no way to urge people to have strong character. All we can do is influence people to have that. And so then that's a whole other conversation. But at the end of the day, these blanket rules just don't end up, they're not sustainable long term. They're great to have in a moment during a movement because there are times where it's like, hey, like with the Me Too movement as an example. Nobody was fucking listening to us, right? In fact, I'll just say this really quickly. When when the Me Too movement really went down with the whole Brett Kavanaugh, especially with that whole, situation, and my one of my best friends, I love her so much, but she was so fiery, like, she was in a fiery rage over it, and that shit pissed me off because it was just about 3 years prior to that that I was SA'd while I was unconscious. And she knew about it. Granted, we were both struggling to get sober, so she wasn't really in her best state of mind to really say anything, but it's like, all of my friends or, like, a lot of these people knew that it happened, and, like, while these people didn't support him, they didn't say anything to the dude. I didn't get a lot of s I wasn't overwhelmed with support on my end. So, it kinda pissed me off to hear, like, to hear people get so impassioned just in this brief moment, but it was important to finally, like, change the conversation and be like, "Hey, fucking listen. This is a serious problem that we're having, that we're experiencing, and you're not listening, and you're blaming it on us when it happens to us." And so I do think it's important for these things to happen in a bubble, right? But then eventually, like, we outgrow that, and you have to burst that bubble, and you have to move on to another type of conversation, and it has to be more nuanced every time. That's the point of having these big, loud moments is that we're introducing another facet of the conversation. So, I think the Angie says, "I think the use of the feminism in this debate is what is frustrating because the definition is lost." I think it's frustrating in so many different ways, absolutely. Um, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm gonna get into it too because you can't have the feminism debate without talking about the dangers of toxic masculinity, and so you can't talk about the dangers of toxic masculinity while telling a man that he can't speak up about his experience as a DV survivor, or saying that a man has to be the primary aggressor because he's a man. Um, and I'm sorry, but if feminism is about equality, then I'm gonna say, like, "Hey, guess what? A woman can beat up a man too." Are we typically as capable physically of it? No. But can a woman do it? Emotionally, can a woman be pushed there, mentally be pushed there to do the thing? Yeah. I've seen it happen to my friends. Yeah, absolutely. Talk about equality. It's not just men. Hashtag feminism. Anyway, um, the other thing too, just a brief comment too. Some people are, and I made a brief comment about this. I said, these trials are not meant for, like entertainment and sensationalism, but I don't know if it's necessarily a problem if they are. Even I think Philip DeFranco had a problem with that because I saw him call out Bailey Sarian, because Bailey was just saying that same thing that Shelby said, like, sad that the trial's over. And he was just like he tried to call her out, and I'm just like, "Bro, really?" Like, I don't know. Is that in poor taste? To have been enjoying watching the trial. I think a lot of us have been learning a lot about law. For me, that's been really fascinating to learn how law works. I don't know, I've heard a handful of people decide that they wanted to go to law school from watching this trial. Um, so there's that, but then there's also the people who are like, "People are laughing and making jokes at the expense of the people involved." Yeah, they are. And is that a bad thing? Well, it depends. It depends on the nature of the joke. I because I have heard a lot of really funny jokes come out of this situation, like some comedy commentary, some meme videos that have really made me laugh my ass off. In fact, just not even comedy commentary, just like some of those lawyers like, one of the things that cracked me up was when the lawyer dudes were all doing a live stream, and they were like, "Yeah, it was just kind of like the symbolism of it all." Like, while Elaine is doing the closing statements, closing arguments, there's the roll of thunder and the alert system goes off. But then when Camille is up on the podium, like, the light shines in from on high, like it's coming from God. Like, that's funny. That's not hurting anyone. That's not, like, making it fun of anyone where it's really gonna hurt them. It's just, like, it's just funny analogies. And for me, what's really funny actually, and I've watched a few videos that have just cracked my ass up, um, where people have essentially just, like, mumbled contradictions in as a means of, like, making fun of the way the Amber Heard talks. Um, I'm hoping Rachel will be able to help me, um, think of some of the quotes from that video. It's called "How Amber Heard Talk," and it's something like, somebody's interviewing the guy who's got a wig on, and the interviewer is like, Mrs. Heard," and Amber, is like, it's Miss Heard. I'm not married. My husband is." And so the interviewer goes, "Mr. Heard." And then he says something like, "It was just you 2 in the room." "Well, that's not true. We just got a dog that's half bull, half leopard. That's all hearsay." So, like, and then, like, just things like, "I walked into the bedroom and there he was in the kitchen, and then blah, 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 and then it turns out he was outside of the house the whole time." And it's just like, you're all it's doing is making fun of the fact that this woman is, 1, at worst, a liar, and 2, at best, inconsistent and confusing with her testimony. But if we like, I am it's a whole conversation to have about how, and trust me, a couple of my friends have heard me go on a 13-minute rant about how PC culture is killing comedy and how that is detrimental to our freedom in society. But, I just think that, like, if we can't who are we allowed to make fun of? If we can't make fun of somebody who is liable potentially for perjury, what can we make fun of? Because I don't hear anybody making jokes about, like, corpse in the Honda Civic, or, like, these people brutalizing each other. Like, I'm not hearing jokes about that. That's not funny. But, like, otherwise, like, if there are other aspects of this that are funny and we can laugh, why not? So then I've changed my mind on the argument that, like, we shouldn't use this for entertainment. We can't make jokes. Why not? Why not laugh if you can laugh about something? I'm not telling you to go to Amber Heard's house and taunt her, but if you can sit in your own home and laugh about how this woman, like, doesn't make sense. We, like, make me in our family chat, we joked about, like, if she wins this case, it's fine, I'm sure that she'll pledge the money real fast. Like, who's that hurting? It's making fun of the fact that the woman lied on the stand. So, sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat at all. I'm hungry. I'm so hungry these days. Mm, people rhyming TV and movie quotes with "My dog stepped on a bee." Um, but she uses it synonymously, but I don't, misheard. We can laugh if there's a line that should not be crossed, and I see it getting crossed a lot online, and that I'm sure is happening. That I'm sure, and I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Robin. Because there was an Amber Heard supporter, and I wanted to bring this up earlier, but I wasn't sure. But there was an Amber Heard supporter online who was very clearly Amber Heard supporter, because everybody was online talking about, whatever side they support. And when I interacted with this person, I was like, "Oh shit, how is this gonna go?" Because she tweeted something about how, like, quoted somebody saying something like, I'm gonna Johnny Depp you with a bottle," or, or something like that. And she was like, see, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, with all due respect, that sounds like somebody who believed Amber, not Johnny. Johnny, would not admit to doing something so heinous as that. And she said to me, this just speaks to the vitriol of, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, though she did use the word vitriol, of some of his stands and stand culture in general. And to that, I said, "Oh, yes, I agree. Some of his stands are very disgusting, and stands in general, and standing in general is dangerous." So, while I'm not seeing that stuff's not coming again, I'm not on Twitter, and I'm just not hanging out in certain spaces on the internet, but I'm sure that people are be acting in disgusting ways that are just end up making the the pro Depp side of this whole trial, which is a lot of people, it's most people. So, of course, you're gonna have a bunch of people who are just acting disgusting, and, like, let it be known, we do not support that. But that also goes to show that, like, you can have fucking Savannah. Um, you can have people on different side of this coin that can still have a civil conversation, and I like that. Um, yeah, fuck Twitter. Yeah, it's not okay to send anybody death threats. It's not okay to harass anybody. It's not okay to wish ill upon anybody. It's not okay. See, like, these things are not okay. Is it okay to be like, you know, I was gonna try to think of a different quote, but, like, maybe even laugh at her acting, like, I saw another guy who was just like, "This is what happens when, you're being told to act sad, and then you don't know how to do that because 'cause you're not a good actor, and so you have 20, 30 different facial expressions like, and that's what comes out," and I'm like, "That makes sense because we see somebody contorting their face over and over again, and the tears are just not coming out." That one's a little bit more on the edge. It depends on whether or not you believe this woman is actually, like, crying, and I do believe there are a couple of times that maybe she was, genuinely emotional, but I think a lot of it was really contrived. Jeez. Um, Anywho, so, that's my thought on, the comedy/entertainment aspect of it, keep it respectful to a degree, like, like we said, don't go taunting people, don't go harassing people, um, but otherwise, like, and don't make, like, jokes about really disgusting and heinous things, but otherwise, like, you can joke about how somebody's a bad actor or how somebody's a liar or how somebody's story is so inconsistent, it's ridiculous. Yeah, Erica, I agree, because, like, nobody knows really what happened in any of this, right? But I think we don't need to. I don't think we need to know in this case. I think what we need to know f from this situation is what not to do, kind of. I wanna say this right because I'm sure there's somebody who's, like, lurking and, like, with their notepads, like, waiting for me to say it something the wrong way as they can put, like, headlines, "Hello Leash" on Twitter said this about DV victims, but at the same time, I really don't care. But, like, what not to do, what it's fine, like, if you don't properly document and you don't report and stuff like that, like, you should never be, shamed for that. But, like, lying on the stand, lying in depositions, lying, but also, like, being possibly acting as an instigator and not and especially not disclosing that and lying about that. That's the other thing is that Unfortunately, for some, this for some people, they see that there's tunnel vision about this. This is just about women. Women, 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 women. It's about women. It's only about Amber Heard and Amber Heard coming out. And maybe she was a victim and maybe she wasn't. But so, like, potentially we're hurting her or potentially we're not. But the fact of the matter is this trial, they, in did they say it was in medicine, like in a clinical way, or is it in law, or both? That they were saying that there's not no such thing as mutual that there is always one person who is the primary aggressor, the primary instigator, the person who holds more power in that abuse dynamic, right? And we've heard, I think it was 2 marriage counselors that said they believed her to be the primary aggressor, and then all of the evidence that we saw pointed towards that. So, at the end of the day, I think looking at the bigger picture, it's about giving a man the opportunity to be the DV victim. That's it. It's about giving the man the chance to be believed, just like she said he would not be. And just like I heard somebody say it, like, the way that some people are responding to this trial is like the way that they're saying, like, "This is a setback for women," or like, I was so disappointed. Does anybody watch the channel The Take? I like The Take. I don't love it. I was gonna say I love it, but I don't love it. I like it. They do a lot of media analysis, and it's all women, um, and I like their breakdowns of different movies and tropes and things like that, but then they weighed in on this case, and they really heavily leaned, and it's not that I'm against anybody's arguments for, um it's not that I'm not willing to listen or agree with anybody's, any argument for Amber Heard's side, but they were saying that because he was a man, because he was bigger and had more money/resources, he was he was already the primary instigator, just by default, which is so unfair. Like, you can name somebody. You can name somebody that is smaller than you and has less money than you. But does that mean that if you were in a relationship with that person that you would be like that turns you into some sort of monster that hurts people? What happens if they start throwing things at you? And then you're placed in this situation, and then the take goes on YouTube, and they're like, "So and so follower on the helloleesh channel was in a DV situation, but they're bigger and have more money than the person who's accusing them, so we believe that person, even though all the evidence points in the other direction." So, yeah, Sanjay, I agree. Women saying you aren't a feminist for not siding with Amber infuriates me, to be honest. Well, to be honest, being a feminist means so many different things at this point that what does it even mean to be a feminist, right? You have, second wave, first wave, second wave, third wave feminists, and then I think you, have something even after that. Then you have people who just go by the basic definition of, people who want equality for women as well as men, and this and if and the thing is that what so many feminists quote unquote are missing is the equality portion, because I will say this, so many Twitter feminists that I know, live by the motto, quote unquote, "Why are men?" Like, I love my community right now, but I'll be honest with you, it was toxic there for a while, and that was something that people used to say a lot. "Why are men? Why are they?" And it's like, "We hate men. Men are the worst. They suck." Blah. Well, okay, if you are going to stifle men, if you're going to shut them up, if you're going to shun them, if you're going to say that they can't be the victims of DV, if you're going to say that they, if you're going to say, oh, what a baby, you're a baby, oh, and then the laughing tapes, the tapes of her like cackling, taunting, if that's okay to do to a man, because I rest assured, if that happened to a woman, we would all be pissed off. We would all be disturbed as fuck if that happened, if Johnny Depp were doing that to Amber Heard. I would be, for sure. I was when he called her fat ass. So, and that was the only thing that I heard him say to her directly that I thought was be, you know. So, but I'm sure there were other times, but um you, if you truly believe in equality, then you have to believe that this can go both ways. But I don't believe that those people that Angie has been experiencing, I don't believe that those people truly believe in equality so much as they care about the empowerment of women beyond men, at the behest of men. And like to trample on men is a win in the eyes of the feminists of that variety. And like if that's you, then like fine, go live your life. I'm not trying to get involved in any of your shit, but that's not me. That's not the variety of feminist or person I am. I don't even know if I want to be called that at this point because of what it's become. So B says, my problem is that most people came to this trial already supporting Depp before any evidence was provided. Is that true though? And I'm not doubting you. I am in a respectful way. Um, because one of the things that I talked to one of my friends about, Ashley, on here, is that perhaps I think the public favor started to swing back in Johnny Depp's favor before this trial. Um, but that would have happened after some of these tapes were leaked to the public, because it was around sometime between 2016 2018 that some of these tapes were dropped that people were like, oh shit. And I'm going to use this word. Hell yeah, I'm going to use this word. Amber Heard is crazy. This person is crazy. And we didn't realize that. And the fact of the matter is that this trial would not have happened if this man did not lose his reputation. He would not have missed out on two huge studio franchises if his reputation were not lost, damaged, ruined. Because when she showed up on the cover of People magazine with what looked like a bruise on her face, and then again on TMZ, which she lied about, allegedly, but like the logic points at nothing else but that. What did that look like other than Johnny Depp hurts women, hurts his partner? And absolutely, I think anybody who saw that thought that. And so I don't know. People, like I said, the pendulum might have swung a little bit more back into his favor because we started to see the other side. Most of us, by the time this happened, we heard those tapes where she was like, tell the world, Johnny, that I too am a man, am a victim of blah blah blah, and also like I didn't punch you, I hit you, I hit you. You're a baby. Get over it. You're a baby. We all heard that before the trial. Not all of us, obviously. Probably the jury. They probably asked them that in voir dire whether or not they heard those tapes. Yeah, it sounds like some of you guys are kind of experience the same thing as me. With like things changed when it was like, oh, it was really when these audio recordings came out. It was really those audio recordings that changed everything for me. Um, Haley says evidence was released around the time of the UK trial. I believed Amber by default until I heard those tapes and saw her testimony. Yeah. Yeah, and the UK deposition was really disturbing to watch, I feel. It was not that anybody like, nobody should be faulted directly for this, but I was, like, kinda disturbed by the fact that even though one of the videos I was watching, one of the creators I was watching just made really funny jokes about it, but, like, the way that the way that she was eating, he was like, She just took that whole, like, donut hole or something." It's just like, um, but, like, the way that she was eating during her deposition, she's like, like, that bothered me. It was very odd. It was very, very odd, and then this creator showed a clip of, is his name Anthony and I was just thinking about this dude. The lead from Blackish. Anthony Anderson? Anyway, whatever movie he was in where he was, like, about to be questioned, he was about to be interrogated, and he was like, "They give you the donuts, and you have to eat all the donuts, to because it's a gauge to see whether or not you're guilty, and if you eat the donuts, then it's showing you that you're comfortable and you're not guilty." It was it was even more insidious than that, it looked for me. It was weird. But, the TMZ thing, that really, really bothered me. The way that she was like, "I wanted to let Johnny know, that it was happening before he found out from the media because, before he found out from a place like TMZ because they were alerted." And that was she so did not play that one off. She so did not play that one off. Ugh. 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 Jordan says there were parts of her deposition where she said she wasn't focused on what they were asking her while she constantly snacked. Of course she wasn't focused. Oh, she said that? Yeah, that's very strange. That's so strange. Um, yeah, and to Rachel's point, Rachel, Gargagliano, um, the TMZ testimony basically outed her as the source. This is another problem I have with Amber Heard on the stand, is that this, not this representative, but this former employee of TMZ who was an employee at the time that, not only was that the tape of Johnny and, slamming the cabinets, and to give some more context from what I gathered about that situation is that that situation had nothing to do with Amber. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that that was around the time that his mother was passing away and that his he was dealing with issues with his money, and he was suing his accountant or manager, somebody who was dealing with his money. But and he even says that at the beginning of the video where she was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he was like, "Did anything happen to you today? I don't think so." And so, like, I again, like, would I be in a relationship with somebody if they behaved like that? If they, like, slammed cabinets and shit like that? Like, no. You better believe that I would have a serious sit down talk with Jake and about me leaving this relationship if he acted like that, dead serious. But and it is see I think it is seen as, potentially intimidating. I can see that. I can. But beyond that, like but then you have to consider okay, is she intimidated? And then you read her body language as well as we can, which, like, yes, I'm on the side of the clinicians who say, like, body language analysis isn't really, like, it's so not something that we can do, but not the actual analysis of it, but what I mean is that human beings are so good at detecting deception, detecting when something's off. Our intuition is really, really good, generally. Um, so, if she didn't seem intimidated, and the fact that she, kind of like moves her camera around, tries to get a better angle of, it was like she was getting a really good shot that was going to be really the money shot, right, for TMZ. That's what it looked like. And that last shot of her kinda half smirking into the camera, she got it. She got that shot because Johnny would always give her something at the end of these recordings when he would find her, illegally recording him. Um, that time like, he would give her something, but nothing crazy. He wouldn't, like, take her phone and, throw it into the wall. He would, like, throw it in the trash can, like, at the end of one of the recordings, he's like, "Hello to Paige and whatever her dad's name is. I'm sorry this didn't work out." Like, but, and she edits those parts out, right? For a reason. Why? But anyway, I'm getting off track. You have a former employee from TMZ who is there to tell the court that within the time frame that that video was published indicates that it was submitted by the copyright owner. And so that means that it would have had to have come from Amber Heard or Johnny Depp. Presumably, I mean, like, nobody I haven't heard anyone say that, but I really doubt he would have submitted that. Um, or else, why isn't Amber Heard taking somebody else to court? And the thing is that they didn't press her, I don't think they pressed her with the right questions because they let her I'm sorry, but if a liar, you're You're giving somebody an out when they have other means of getting this shit across, right? If they say, like, if they give it to their publicist and say, "Here, forward this on to TMZ. Here's my written consent," or whatever. Then if it goes from the publicist to TMZ in an email or whatever, then she can say, "Technically, I didn't send it." And so when Camille Vasquez asks her, like, "Did you send that?" She says, "No, absolutely, I did not." "Well, you sent it." "No, you're very wrong." She's technically right, and she's believing her what she's saying because technically she's right. So I wish they would have, like, had asked her questions about, like, I think what I heard somebody say is, like, "Did you know that TMZ was going to receive that video?" Um, or did you give that video to anybody with permission to pass it along to publication like TMZ or whatever? So there was that. And then what else did he say? That they were also alerted, that the paparazzi was alerted to go to the courthouse the day that she was filing the TRO. She was there with their publicist, which that in and of itself is not necessarily bad, but the fact that they were told she is going to be there, then she is going to turn and face her, I think it was her right cheek towards the camera so that you can get a shot of the bruise on her cheek. She said that didn't happen. So the dude from TMZ, according to Amber Heard, is a liar. Liar. Um, what's his name? Something Knight, Mr. Knight, manager at Hicksville, the owner, I believe, at Hicksville. The Trailer Palace. He caught a little bit of the trial coverage, and apparently somebody that works there said, "Oh, they're on trial, and Amber Heard is saying that that night that they were here, that Johnny Depp was threatening people and that he trashed the room." And he said, "That didn't happen." And so he tweeted something online, and then the Johnny Depp's team brought him in. And then they asked him before he went on the stand, like, "Okay, how much of this trial have you watched? How much do you know?" Da, 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 before they let him testify. And he testified that he didn't see he was there and he saw them, and he did not see Johnny Depp being violent with anyone, but he certainly did not trash the trailer. That the most damage that was done was a lamp fixture was broken, and it was $62. And somebody made a really good point in saying, like, it was this girl, I really like her. I think it's Bose versus the World was her name. And she was like, I was hit with a $300 bill for not sweeping behind my refrigerator when I moved out once. You don't think that these people would charge Johnny Depp out the ass for this, that, the other, because knowing that he has the money and will pay it? No, it was $62. So what does Amber Heard say? That guy's a liar. And then you have all of these people testifying to various things. And according to Amber Heard, everybody else is a liar because the whole world is just supporting Johnny Depp. Even people who don't have a dog in the fight, like Kate Moss. She's to everybody. Elaine Bredehoff, as well as Amber Heard, is just claiming that everybody's trying to get their 15 minutes of fame. Okay, then is that why you married him? Pray tell. If that's the only reason that anybody's involved in Johnny Depp's life, is that why you married him? I'm not accusing you of it, but I would like to ask. I'd also like to know, is that why you dated Elon Musk? Very high profile men. You yourself are not very well known on your own. You're not known as a good actress. You guys are now y'all are having a cuddle puddle in the in the chat. Yeah, Janina, according to Amber Heard, everyone else is lying and they're on this huge conspiracy against her. Yeah, and so what do you like at what do you even say at that point? You're accusing all of these people of perjury when you have been caught in lies on the stand. Like, what do we do? What do we do? Elon Musk and Marilyn Manson, that's one of the weirdest things to me. Yeah. Yeah, I get gross vibes. Gross. Gross. Yeah, I think those were all my notes that I had so far, so the rest we can just chat. Um Oh, I also wrote a note at the very end. Amber Heard has done a disservice to us all. And she has. Because could this could this be a setback for women? In some sense, with some men, yes. It's one of those things though where some people are applying what could happen to a few, applying that to the masses. When that in and of itself causes more danger and more damage. So fucking stop. But for what it is causing in some of these men who are like, "See? Blah, blah, blah," and then gonna, resort to not believing people when they do claim to be victims. Yeah. Instead of saying like, "Oh, let's coddle Amber Heard and blah, 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 Amber Heard," why not, "Hey, Amber Heard, don't screw us over." Who's setting us back? Amber Heard is setting us back. It's not Johnny Depp. It's not the people siding with Johnny Depp. It's not Johnny Depp's team. It's not the media giving coverage in favor of Johnny Depp. It's Amber Heard that's setting back women, if anybody's setting back women. Be mad at her. And I'm sorry if like I want to be there to be in support of her for whatever she has endured, but I don't know what that is. And I am somebody who believes people at their word, and at this point, I don't believe anything that this woman said. So what do you do? Does she accuse Rachel pointed out she accused Johnny of planting the story of her assaulting her ex-wife in 2009. I think I did hear that, which, like, no, that's public information. But that's another thing. It's like, you've been accused of this in the past, and if this were 2 people who were, 2 men being compared to each other, you would look at their criminal histories and compare them and be like, one of these has a history of this and the other one does not. Let's see. Bugsy, does the type of man she goes for give her motives away, or am I just off? Um, I think we can only speculate. That's all you can do. I mean, a lot of people have said that they do believe that she and Johnny were in love, and I believe it too. At the same time, I do see her as kind of a social climber. Um, she seems like somebody who wants to be taken seriously as an actor, but doesn't have um, the skills. Uh, why date? Why Elon? Johnny Depp, I get that. Why Elon Musk? Ugh. So, and then somebody pointed out that Elon Musk himself has a really bad dating record. Um, Ashley says, "Why are people not questioning that she lied and what that does to actual victims, honestly, regardless of gender?" Yeah, and the lying about the donate versus pledge lie, that's a bigger deal than just what it looks like on the face, because she was awarded that money because the court looked favorably upon the fact that it was to be donated, and then it was not, and then the fact that she said she got nothing from Johnny, like, you're lying. You are lying. "I wanted nothing and I got nothing." No, you got something. Just because you had to turn around and spend 6,000,000 of it, of the 7,000,000, on this trial, which Johnny had to spend money too, by the way, which you were found to be in the wrong. So in a way, like, you're not the one, you're not in the right to complain. Um, but, like, you still got something. Just because you get hit with a bill that almost matches something you were just awarded doesn't mean you didn't get that thing in the first place and still have it for over a year. Mm. I'm just kinda, like, going through my mind, like, all the different lies that were told. I can't say about the different, like, the marks, like, the bruises and the bruises, split lip, stuff like that. I don't wanna speculate on that, except that I can't with the whole, broken nose thing. When anybody who's ever had a broken nose is just like, if you have a broken nose and you don't look like this the next day. And typically you have, like, these are the stages of a broken nose, like what it looks like and what you go through over the course of, the next few weeks. Um, Also, like, the what you would have experienced if she had actually gone through certain things that she claimed she had gone through, like, certain acts that actually would have been very painful and taken months to recover from. Um, but what was I gonna say? What was I There was another one. The split lip to me, like, I didn't see it. Um Yeah, the girl that I was watching, she was pointing out that because they were talking about all the rings that Johnny wears, and really these stories that she was telling were really, like, brutal. And they were saying, "Well, doesn't Johnny wear rings on every finger? Wouldn't that really, like, leave a mark?" And this girl that I was watching, she said that she got into a fight with this other girl. She was, like, with a girl named Louisa, and Louisa had a bangle on, and she pulled that bangle over her knuckles and was punching me in the face, and it cut me up, and I was a mess, and they took a picture of me afterwards just to show the damage. Elise says, "I guess something that still bothers me to this day is who do actual known and admitted perpetrators still have a career even in this more progressive society?" You mean, oh, how do? The entertainment industry was messed up from the get-go. If you look at documentaries about old Hollywood, I mean, they really did have, like, these parties, and these Hollywood parties really were, like, you show up and you whoever you're willing to have sex with will be willing to connect you to somebody, like, it really did it really started that way. Um, um, ooh, we have 50, let me see. 55 people in the chat. Ow. I have tendinitis in my wrist. That hurt. Um, Happy to have you. Ah, I'm just I especially too, of course, this is not to say that you have to have this in order for it to happen, but with as much as she recorded in private, they have on tape where, like, she admitted to starting a physical fight. She admitted to doing this to him. She admitted that he walked away. She admitted, though albeit, sarcastically, that he walked away and was admirable for it. How did she not, in any of these secret recordings, get him to admit to these horrible things that she claimed he did? Ah, I got water ganged. We all got water ganged, so y'all should be taking a sip. We have mountains of evidence, more evidence than anyone ever. Yeah, and then her talking about how she had evidence and, like, I turned it over. I turned over everything. And she blamed a lot on her lawyers. So, what do you do? Shelby says, "I think even after this, I still believe people about their experiences." I'm skirting around that word. I don't need evidence. I'm not a system of law that can do anything. And I think at the end of the day, that's the takeaway, is that Amber Heard does not represent all women or all people or all anything, right? She is the exception to the rule. And again, I hate that we're going on and on and on and on about the potential for whether or not Amber Heard is a victim, when this is also about whether or not Johnny Depp is a victim. And at the end of the day, yes, this is a lesson to say that when somebody says they're a victim, you believe them. I'm not gonna I can't leave it at that. I can't leave it at that and then feel like truly spoke my mind. Like, when somebody says that, you believe them, but if somebody comes forward to defend themselves and they properly defend themselves, you have to use your discretion. You have to be smart about it. You have to be sensitive about it. I can't give you anything more than that. I cannot leave it at believe at anybody who says anything. I cannot leave it at that and feel good about myself, and I don't care who the fuck tries to cancel me on Twitter over it. I'm already done been canceled, bitch. Like, I'm done. Erie Cake says she represents the worst of us. Right. Jordan, she even blamed her lawyers. Literally nothing was ever her fault. Right. Right. Nothing. In a lovely dream, I love this. Believing in all women has never meant blind belief. It means you assume they're telling the truth until other facts prove otherwise. Yes, Lil Ramsey, hello. Ah, um, Bruja. Yes, I hate this narrative that Depp supporters are gonna suddenly harass Weinstein and Cosby victims, even Rachel. Is that what they're saying? Is that what the Amber Heard side is saying? Because that's ridiculous. I'll tell you why. Because the public is on the side, was on the side, and that's not gonna change. We didn't the public is not changing their mind on Bill Cosby, on Harvey Weinstein. The public is not changing their mind. The public has already spoken about Bill Cosby. We know what we think about Bill Cosby. And I think it was Abba and Preach that pointed out that, like, the thing with Bill Cosby is that he had victim after victim after victim after victim after victim come forward. And when you have that many, you can't you get to a point where you can't ignore it. And the public has already decided what we think about these people. So, what we think about this case, clearly they are not this is not a one-to-one comparison. I almost said a mean thing to whatever hypothetical person it is that I'm talking to. Like, I'm sorry, that's an idiotic comparison to make because it's not a one-to-one comparison. If the public felt this way about Cosby and the public feels this way about Depp, they're not the same. And just because you think they're the same doesn't mean that we're gonna change our mind about those situations. We're not. We still feel the same way, which is our way of telling you, we don't think this is the same. Don't be stupid about this. We don't think this is the same. At the very least, can you, like, can you try to wipe up your tears a little bit and just know that, like, maybe you're just mistaken about what the public thinks about this? At the very least, like, maybe just leave it at, "We see this differently." Like, you can't just, like, decide for us how we see things based on which way we favored and what, like, honestly, the fact that we didn't like that this woman lied and that we believe that she could be the perpetrator. That was it. Joshua says, "I don't think the argument is that Depp supporters are going to start going after Cosby victims or Weinstein victims, but rather the social attitude that assumes the worst in victims of the A word." Yes, and what I am saying is Johnny Depp is a victim. So for people to say, "Oh, this means that we don't believe victims," then you're completely ignoring the fact that in this instance, a man was a victim. And what Depp supporters are saying is, yes, we believe the victim. Depp supporters are pissed off too that the other side is refusing to see a victim where there is a victim. So what do you do? I keep saying that. So what do you do? So again, that doesn't have any bearing. It has no bearing on Cosby or Weinstein or any of the Cosby or Weinsteins that might come out moving forward. All this says is all this says that might change the collective conversation is that men can be victims too. And not only that, and this is what really upsets me about the Heard, not all of them, but some of the Heard supporters, is that it's this the way that this is being handled is further perpetuating this pressure against men to suck it up. Just take it. Don't say anything to anyone about it. Don't report it. Don't take anyone to court. You're a baby if you do that. You're a baby. You're a baby, and if you do that, I'm gonna show them that you said this about me that one time. Who knows? Like, who knows how many men out there are being brutalized, and I'm telling you that I can think of 2 of my friends off the top of my head that are men that have been brutalized by women. And just to think of how many might be out there and that are just maybe feel stuck in a relationship and like, I can't say anything to anyone about this. I'm gonna be emasculated and or she's gonna turn this around on me. The fact of the matter is these types of relationships, the toxic kind that you need to get out of, we always imagine the woman as a victim. I'm guilty of it. The Lifetime movie where you have the one partner who is the perpetrator and then the other partner who can't get out of the relationship, and then they finally do, and then, like, Rachel Feinstein has a joke about it, and then she starts dating a man named Richard, and he wears turtlenecks, and they eat oatmeal, and they fondle, and they don't have that's all they do because he thinks erections are too, aggressive towards women, but which is a funny joke, but, we don't ever see men in that light, and it's sad because there are men out there that are in that situation, and we're not granting them any space to feel like it's okay to talk about this, and you know what? It's fine if you wanna be like, "Whatever, why are men? They're privileged, and, like, I don't need to give them more space. They're already taking up too much space, and, like, I don't feel sorry for them." That's fine. That's fine if you don't feel sorry for men. I get it. Why are men? Hashtag feminism. I get it. But and by the way, that's totally me being sarcastic. I don't believe that that's how feminism works. Um, but you have to admit that this is perpetuating a toxic mindset for men. Keep stuffing it down, stuff it down, stuff it down. And we know what happens when we stuff is that it comes out in an unhealthy way, and that men have been taught this beginning of time. And that we've been trying to ask parents to teach little boys use to talk about their emotions. That, how many people in relationships with men have been trying to, like, urge their partner to talk about difficult for especially, like, if you're coming from my generation, Gen Z is doing much better at this than millennials and anybody before us were, but even guys around my age, like, I know so many that were just taught, just like, just push it all down, push it all down. And then they have bursts of anger or other toxic um, habits that, by the way, could end up taking their life. And yes, I've seen that happen. I've seen it happen. Whew. Um, I saw my name highlighted. Joshua said, "Oh, I was a big fan of helloleesh before, but then school," and I was like, "Wait, something about school made you not a fan?" But I see it was taking your time. Um, let me see. Wait, I'm gonna scroll up a little bit, just a little. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Hmm. This would be different if Johnny Depp had come forward and said, actually, this relationship was this way on both parties, or Amber Heard. That's very different from a defamation trial. Well, that that's not. I don't know that he could have. A defamation trial is one where he can actually, like, it's not easy to win, but it's one where he can quantify the damages. I'm trying to understand. Is it that you're anti-Depp? I'm just curious. Or, like, kind of devil's advocate, or Because here's the thing is that I've wondered too, like, I'll stop and be like, "Okay, what does this have to do with the price of eggs in China?" Like, there are just so many things that we're talking about this, we're talking about, you know, we're talking about like, whether she pledged or donated the money, like, what does that have to do with what the case is about? And then we're talking about this, and we're like, "Well, what does that have to do with it?" And then I stop and I think, "Wait a minute, okay, all of this kind of goes back and it actually all folds in. It all has to do with it." So whether or not he brutalized her and whether or not she brutalized him, all of that is relevant, Joshua. And I don't mean to like call you out by name, like to be like, "Rah," but I don't mean to be aggressive. But just to because I'm referencing your old chat, I don't know if that's what you're saying, is that it's kind of irrelevant. It's kind of the vibe I got, but I think it's very relevant. But and that's why this trial took so long because there's so much that comes into the fold in determining this, because especially when you consider the fact that according to the court and these clinicians, there is no such thing as mutual A word. There's no such thing. So if that's the case, very simply put, right? If there's no such thing as mutual A word and there's only one person who can be the like the primary aggressor, and so that person is the A worder, then if she comes forward and says, "I am a victim of A word," and it's implied that it's Johnny Depp, but when in fact he is her victim, then yes, done, closed. She defamed him, and that's how the trial went. I had a robot voice. Oh no. Um, I'm hoping that things are clearing up a little bit. In and out. You're not really anti-Depp. I think both parties are probably really in difficult situations, mental health wise. Agreed. My stance is that I don't know what happened in their relationship, and I shouldn't. I agree that it seems like bad news all around. I will say that after a week or two of watching this trial, I was like, there was another thing. That's another. I thank you for bringing that up because I agree. It sounds like bad news bears all around, and one of the other benefits I think to seeing celebrities in this light, it's unfortunate, but it does wake us up a little bit, I think, because it is easy for us, and we do it a lot in our society. We do it a lot to people who have money. We go like, "Oh, poor little rich girl, poor little rich boy. Oh, you have problems. Try to walk a mile in my shoes." But then the fact of the matter is, most of us that have our problems, like if you give us $50 million, like, man, we'd have a really good time, and we'd feel pretty good for a while, but then at the end of the day, our problems are not gonna go away, especially if we had really horrific childhoods. And so, like, hearing these stories about this relationship, I was just like, "Oh my gosh." It just kinda puts your own life into perspective, and it makes you so grateful if you aren't in a situation like that, to be like, "Oh my gosh, thank God that I'm so vanilla and that my life and my relationship are so boring compared to this." I hope we kind of agree on that. SP freak for hashtag men too. I get why it might feel like a little like icky for some people, but for me, I think with men too, it's funny because it's like not an answer to me too. It's more an answer to believe all women. And it's like believe all people. And And here's the thing, I'm gonna make a small argument, though I'm still maintaining that I get it if it sounds icky. and I'm not trying to convince anybody that it's not, 'cause if it sounds like it just does. But there's a difference between all lives matter and Black Lives Matter, the comparison of that to believe all women and believe men too. All lives matter as a response to Black Lives Matter denies the fact that there's a problem with recognizing the value of Black lives. So, and I am do not want to be a half person of color out here explaining racism to anyone, 'cause I don't wanna be that person. But I just wanna remind us of what we all know, is that when people respond, "All lives matter," it's it's like knocking that movement off its pedestal where it needs its moment to be on a pedestal, because it's being singled out, unjustly, and so we need to give it its moment to recognize that those lives matter. Whereas believe all women, it's not like men are coming forward with their stories of being victims and they're the only ones that are being believed. So, it really should have that whole movement should have been called "Believe All Victims," I think, just like Shelby said, just like Shelby worded it rather, because there was never a problem of there was never a problem that I know of where it was just a bunch of male victims, but nobody believed the women, you know? Does that make sense, what I said? And if Men Too as a response to Me Too as well could just bring them can also just bring men into the conversation as well and say that it can happen to them too, like Terry Crews is an example. Like, not that that has anything to do with this trial, but, because Men Me Too is more about, like, sexual assault and stuff like that, that can happen to men, and it has happened to men, and so men should be allowed to be part of that conversation as well. It's not in support of the perpetrators, and that's the point, is that when you respond "All lives matter" to "Black lives matter," then it's kind of like giving some back to the perpetrators of in the Black Lives Matter discussion. You think Me Too is still fine because there were a lot of feminists who brought men into the conversations who were victims. I think, yeah, well, or I think, just the men brought themselves, they themselves may be feminists, but whether they are or not, I think they themselves brought themselves into the conversation. Okay. I'm gonna have to wrap this up here soon because we are at 7 o'clock and I made it through with my lingering headache. And my voice is going out. Does that usually happen with me? I don't think that, like, God didn't make me this way. I was meant to be able to talk at length, at length. Maybe I got too impassioned. Hmm. Notes to myself. B, yes, it might feel icky for some because it is co-opted by conservatives to push their agenda. I don't want to, um, I don't like to vilify anybody for their political party alone, so I don't wanna say like, "Oh, yeah, conservatives, ew, ugh." Plenty of people do, that's fine, but to push a certain agenda, I know what you're talking about, and I agree, and that is, I think, where that icky feeling comes from, and those of us who are more on the left, who might want to use these kinds of phrases, are worried about putting at risk of adding fuel to that fire, um and so it does almost feel like we're saying something like "all lives matter," and it's like, "Oh, they're gonna catch on to that and think that we're saying or they're gonna hear us say Men Too and think we're saying all lives matter," basically. I think that's what you're saying. I think that's what, I'm sorry I forgot your name, but I was responding to you. I think that's probably what you were saying before. A slight cold maybe? I don't think so. I don't think so. We had really bad weather, some storms earlier this week, and I just get headaches. I get headaches, especially with changes in weather. Interesting. Corrine says, a lot of progressive independents and non-political are supporting JT. Interesting. I kind of consider myself in that camp, but then sometimes I consider myself like just left of the middle. I say that and then I point to my right, but your left. There was a retrograde. It gave me a days long headache. You're actively here for the discussion, Bugsy, but the discussion is now over. You guys, I did my temporary tattoo again, but I did it more to the size that I think that I want to do. I think I like it. The B is crooked though. All right. Yeah, I think usually weather's a reason for me, oftentimes. The dark side of enjoying my good girl conversations where we love math and being good. Though there will be people who tell you I'm not good. I'm not good. I'm not a good person. If you have had a good time, I would please urge you to go check out helloleesh.com. Look, I made a little marquee sign or whatever you call these. helloleesh.com. If you go there, you can check out, you can get links to my Patreon and hang out with these fine people. A lot of the people who are in, well, all the people who are in blue are there on Patreon, plus a few more of the people that you see in the chat that you're having a good time talking to. They're awesome people. Love them. Have really good times. We just have good conversations. And I will say, I don't think I've said this publicly, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. There's been a really big shift in my community that I'm very, very proud of. Um, and I have to recognize this. Um, there was a time, and I have to be easy on myself for how I got there, and I meant well at the time, and so did all the people who helped me get there. But there was a time that people were kind of people were kind of turned off by my community or wanting to get too close to like the Patreon community because they felt that things were a little strict in my community and it was easy to get in trouble, it was easy to get chastised. I am happy to say that these days there is very little to no there's virtually no moderation that needs to go on in my Patreon. I would like to keep it that way. I am not saying that like you can't get in trouble but nobody has done anything to warrant any of the mods to be like, hey, we might need to talk to somebody. And like we're not watching the things that people say so that we can pick apart every little thing that they say and maybe you can get in trouble for something you said years ago. We're not doing that anymore. And I'm really proud of this community because it's just a bunch of just normal, decent people who have a good time talking to each other and just get along and have good discussions. And we meet on Thursdays as well. So there's that at helloleash.com, or you can just go to patreon.com/helloleash. You can also go to helloleash.com to find my Amazon storefront where I haven't filled out all of it with like all my favorite things and all the clothes that I bought, but you will find all of the clothes that I've worn in videos that have come from Amazon or can be found on Amazon. So that's there. And a couple of other resources like mental health resources, mostly that. But yeah, otherwise, if you could take a moment to like the video before the stream before you head out, I would really appreciate that. I really would. And if you haven't subscribed, we have conversations like this on the regular. Plus, I'm vlogging, so those are happening here and there. So if you hit subscribe, then and especially with notifications, then you'll be alerted when that happens again. So. Oh, Kareen, of course. Of course. It's my pleasure. I appreciate y'all being here with me and having this discussion and contributing to it and challenging me. And we'll do it again probably next week. Yeah, no changes to the schedule next week. I am going out of town. I am going to Bleachers. Let me say this because it's just so exciting. One of my friends from my styling band days works for Bleachers, and if you don't remember, that is, like, my last favorite band ever, and, um, I've told the story about how let me hang back a little bit because 'cause I'm excited about this. Um, I've told the story about how Jake and I met on Bumble, and I had just gotten out of a relationship, so I didn't wanna go out with anybody new, but I was down to, like, chit chat, and Jake, on our 2nd or 3rd day of talking was like, "I'm gonna cook, and what band should I listen to while I cook?" And I was like, "Bleachers, that's a great band." And so he took that information and he later bought tickets to their show in Baltimore while I was in DC, that was coming up in a couple of weeks so that he could get me to go out with him. But he didn't pressure me, in a sense. He gave them to me. He was like, "Hey, so I bought these tickets. They're yours. You can take anyone you like. I would like you to take me, but you're free to take a friend. They're your tickets." So obviously, and then I went out with him before that, and so we ended up going together, and so it ended up being a date we went on after we were actually established. But it was like it was our first little overnight trip. We went to Baltimore. We got a hotel. We went to the show, and now my friend from back the days of when I was styling bands, one of the bands that I used to love at the time, um, he works for Bleachers, and in fact, got to stand in for one of the musicians that was sick, on the day that they performed on SNL, and he got to perform on SNL with them, and, he's getting us in on the guest list in Atlanta next week, so, yeah, that's really exciting. We haven't been out to Atlanta, and, um, I realize when I tell you guys these things that I'm, like, low key doxing myself, but, like, I think we should be fine. I think we should be fine. So, yes. So these 2 are going on a date, and they're gonna bring Oliver because diabetes. Jordan says, "Jake sounds like an absolute gem." Thank you. You ever make actual videos again, like the types of videos you used to make? The YouTube drama videos? No, don't expect those from me. Vlogs, like fashion and interiors? Yes. But no, you're not gonna get Gabby Hanna videos out of me. No more of that. That's a former life, and even if it means that I eventually end my career here on YouTube. So, all right, guys. No, that was my story at the end of the stream. But either way, that doesn't change our schedule for next week. So, love you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.